Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. These are Charter Moms chats, and holy cow, it is enrollment season again. And Idea Public Schools is the school network in our area that starts taking applications first. So I'm really proud to feature our enrollment guide blog post about Idea Public Schools on all of our channels today. So at SA Charter Moms, you can find us. And we have this live interview with a very special guest, Ernie Cantu, or Dr. Ernesto Cantu. He is the Chief Schools Officer for Idea Public Schools, which is like a huge network now. And I was reading up about Ernie's background. So he was born in Idaho because his parents kept moving around for work, but he grew up in a colonia in Pharr, Texas called Las Milpas. He's been at IDEA since 2003, which is a really long tenure at IDEA. And he worked at a school in Las Milpas, where he grew up in Pharr, which I think is amazing. So, and I'm just so honored to have Ernie here because he can comment about all different aspects of IDEA, like about the academics and the culture and how to apply all that good stuff. So, Ernie, thank you for joining me on Charter Moms Chats.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I always look for an opportunity to talk about IDEA and the things that we've been doing. And yeah, you mentioned I was actually a principal in one of our schools there in Las Milpas, and that's actually one of my, aside from being married and being a grandfather and a father, I think that's one of my biggest points of pride that I was a principal at a school that's serving in my community that I grew up with, and we serve kids that are either that look like me, sound like me, or are living the way I live, the way I grew up. So really excited about being able to do that and bring change to some of our families there in Las Milpas. And yeah, I've been with IDEA for 20 years, and I've been a tutor, I've been a principal, I've been a teacher, director of new site development, VP of schools, executive director. I launched El Paso as well, area superintendent, and now chief schools officer.
Yeah, wow. Well, I'm really excited because there's a lot of different aspects of IDEA that I want to cover because my goal here is that maybe families who haven't heard of IDEA before, although hopefully they've like seen the billboards or things like that, or maybe they just have very young children and they're just starting to think about the school choice thing, and and you can help make the case for like why IDEA Public Schools is so special because I know like the Used News and World Report ratings just came out, and IDEA Carver always is a real star campus. But there's so many campuses. So, but you touched on something important. You talked about like wanting to help students like how you grew up, right? In neighborhoods like where you grew up. Students who are Hispanic, Latino, maybe haven't people haven't looked at them with the right level of expectations, right? Every child can succeed, and that's that's the mission, right?
Absolutely. Our mission is to get 100% of our kids accepted and to matriculate to a four-year college or university. And it's challenging. I know, for instance, for myself, when I was in high school, and I graduated a long time ago, 1988, which, yeah, you all can figure out how old I am from there. But I never had anyone talk to me about going to college. Throughout all my elementary, junior high, because we had junior highs back then, or high school. As a matter of fact, I had one adult when I was a senior talk to me about, hey, are you going to college? And I had already enlisted, in the armed services. I joined the Army. And it just, not that it bothers me, but I think like, man, like what would I have done if somebody had talked to me, about going to college? And, just opening up a little bit about myself is my parents actually passed away when I was really young. My mom died when I was 4, my dad when I was 5. My older sister raised me and, my other brothers and sisters. So a friend of mine, well, that one teacher said like, hey, well, you could have qualified for financial aid or grants or this and that. You're pretty much an orphan. And I'm like, man, like I'm leaving in a month. Like no one ever talked to me about that. And I just made it my mission, right, to make sure that I have nothing against joining the military. Like I said, I was a member. That's one of the other points of pride that I have. But I just don't want kids to join the Army because they don't feel they have another choice, right? So we really want to educate our kids about the opportunities that are out there for them. And that's actually part of our mission, right? We just got to make sure kids are prepared for college. And it starts with like letting them know these are the opportunities. It starts with us like putting them in a position to, work hard. We focus on a lot of different things, right? We talk about like whole child, right? It's about building character. We have core values that we adhere to. We also focus on academics that go beyond high school. So we have a big focus on AP programming for kids, and like those are really really challenging. But we go beyond just like getting kids to graduate. Like we want to make sure that kids graduate from high school, pardon me, and then we can get them into college.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's so you talked about like you've served in different roles at IDEA over the past 20 years, and which is great because you've seen all different sides of it. But I'm wondering in like this, and but your current role is chief schools officer. So what are some of the things that you do in your role as chief schools officer, like to make sure that IDEA is getting all of the students prepared for college?
Yeah, absolutely. As chief schools officer, a lot of the goals and work that we do as an organization come up and bubble up to myself and my team. So we focus on enrollment, we focus on curriculum, we focus on instruction, we focus on persistence, like all these things that come up to us. And for me, the number one thing that I focus on is making sure that we have an excellent leader on every campus and an excellent teacher in every classroom, right? So I work with area superintendents. They manage executive directors. So that's basically what I do. I travel at least 3 times a month. I'm visiting our schools. In Texas, we do have schools outside of Texas as well. So I visit those schools as well. I've been in San Antonio also. I know the executive director really well. Angie and I were colleagues in the university. She's been a longtime member also of IDEA, working with us. So, but that's mainly my number one thing is just making sure that our ADs are coaching and developing our folks in the classrooms and schools.
Yeah, well, you touched on something. Well, we've sort of alluded to this, right? But like, IDEA started in the Rio Grande Valley, and I think you said it was 2000 in the Rio Grande
Yes.
Valley,
Yes,
right? And then I remember in 2012 hearing about like that David Robinson was involved, and that the IDEA would be expanding to San Antonio, and that was the first area outside of the Rio Grande Valley where IDEA campuses would open. And then it's just gone like way beyond that, right? You mentioned helping open the El Paso region. But there's also right in the Fort Worth area, Houston, there's in Louisiana. Let's see,
Yep.
what am I forgetting?
Ohio, Florida. Yeah. Altogether, we have over 140 schools. In fact, in San Antonio, we have 15 sites, 30 schools. And our former ED there wanted to make sure that parents had an opportunity to attend one of our campuses, and they could be, hope I don't butcher it because Angie will correct me if I'm wrong, but at least 10 minutes away from each family, right? So we're trying to spread out the schools so that we cover all of San Antonio and we provide access to all our families out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's really important. I think, and you talked about in your role as chief schools officer, like you support the executive directors, they're supporting the principals and the teachers. That's how you maintain this consistency across all these campuses, right? Of keeping the quality high, and that the eye is on this goal of like we're going to help these kids get ready for college. Even if some of them may go other ways, but it's almost 100% that actually enroll in college, like over the last the years that y'all been keeping track.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the number one thing, right? We want to make sure that our kids are prepared for college, so our curriculum is really intense. And that's also one of our strengths as well, is that we have a common program for all our students, right? So what we're seeing in the RGVs, what we're using in San Antonio and Austin and El Paso, it's the same program. There might be some tweaks here and there, but the curriculum is the same. And it's all focused on making sure that students are learning conceptually, right? So it's beyond just basic addition and subtraction. It's like really pushing kids to think. And I'll be honest, like the curriculum is challenging for kids. I think of the scope and sequence that we have, right? Like are some of our students taking statistics and all these AP courses where when I was in high school, it was like, hey, these are your options, you get math and that's it. So we really try to make things different for our students.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the AP courses that's what a great way to help students. They can take this, they take the exams, and then that helps them get college credit, and it also validates that IDEA is teaching at an advanced level for these students.
Yep. Can I brag a little bit? I was a principal there at IDEA FAR, and we have I'm going to brag for two things. One, it's personal also, but we have a goal of APs. We want 30% of our seniors to be AP scholars, right? And that means in order to be an AP scholar, you need to get a 3 or higher on at least 3 different courses in your high school. And it's really challenging to get to that number. Well, our kids at Idea Far were the first seniors to hit the 30% AP scholars, right? And these are kids from the colonias, predominantly low income, first generation college goers. So they were the first school to hit this goal, which is huge. And then the second piece is more of a personal. My son, I always tell families, look, I won't sell you a product that I won't use myself. Like my kids also went through Idea because they're already graduated. But my son was at Idea from first grade all the way to 10th grade. Then when we moved to El Paso, he ended up having a, change to a traditional ISD in El Paso. Well, his counselor there said, hey, he was already an AP scholar, by the way, and he was in after 10th grade. His counselor said, look, you're better off taking senior level courses right now. Like, I'm not recommending this to anybody, but he did. He ended up having he didn't have to, but he graduated a year early from high school, went to college. He had a ton of AP credits, and he did really, really well. And he graduated from college when he was 20 years old. Well, actually, he was 19 in May, and he turned 20 in June when he graduated. So, those are the types of opportunities that we provide for kids. And it's not just my kids. Every student at Idea Public Schools has opportunities like that.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing from the stories, those are great stories. And that really brings it to life. But one thing about Idea culture is the use of data. And like that came through in your story, right? Like having goals of like, okay, we want this many students to be AP scholars. Like that's really impactfful. And then to have, there's a little friendly competition among the campuses, right? Of who can reach those goals.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, the data that our goals around that, they're all by design. Like we don't just come up with any number just to come up with a number, right? It's like, if we can get this many AP scholars, if we can get this many kids to be masters. So there's like a complete process for everything. We know that at the end of the day, like it's going to impact schools and students and families, right? So it's all by design.
Yeah. Well, those are great stories. Yeah, and I know we can talk more about academics. I get really excited about that, but
Me too.
I also want to ask about something. It's come up a lot in our Facebook discussion group. Is that families are very concerned about safety, and I know like every summer, Idea's been putting out an update about procedures and training and stuff for campus safety and security. So can you comment on that? It might help parents feel. Especially when dropping off kindergartners, it's hard, Yeah,
absolutely. It's really important for us that our families feel safe going to our schools. And I think the number one thing is that we do have the standard response protocol, right? That we focus on safety. We train our staff, we train our students. It's unfortunate at this point in time that we have to do that, but we have to, right? So we do a lot of rehearsals for kids and for teachers, to do, we have to have a lockdown or things like that. And, but I think the number one thing is that we focus on is making sure that our gates are working. And if they're not working, you need to let me know so we can make sure that we take care of that. But our gates are working. Parents have to come in and, bring in their ID before they can go into our classrooms or into our school. We do have I'm not going to put in a plug for it, but we do have a program that as soon as we get the ID for a parent, like we run it through and it gives us if there's any, like a quick little, what's the word I'm looking for?
A little background check.
Yes, a little background check, right? And if there's a challenge, we won't let parents come in or adults come into our schools. It's unfortunate, but that's actually really important for us. We want to make sure parents feel, that our schools are safe. I remember a parent once that when I was a principal, she would not drop off her child. Like she had to drop off and then walk her into the school. And she was in kindergarten. I finally said, ma'am, like, can you give us a chance? Like, I promise you, we're going to make sure your child gets to school. It's going to be a safe environment for her. And it was her first child in school. So she was like really adamant about it. And then she just said, okay. And then, she just started letting her go. And it was hard for her, but we try to be like really careful about our safety procedures.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're describing a closed campus, and these days that's really important, And then checking every adult, everybody who's coming in and out of the campus, but also like by helping that mom feel safe, bringing her daughter and letting the daughter walk in, like that helps build independence, and that's part of what like you want to shape, these students so they'll succeed even beyond high school, and so they like, and that's part of like the idea of core values, right? It's just is these they can internalize these beliefs and how powerful and how effective they can be, like especially once they get to the college prep level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had my kids that idea. I mean, and I promise everybody I was the same. My wife was the same. We wanted to walk the kids to their classroom every day, and but we knew that we couldn't. But as a parent, like yes, of course, like this is my baby, right? Like I got to make sure that they're safe. So we understand completely, when parents are coming like that.
So one thing that I've observed about idea culture, so I mentioned about data, right? But another thing is celebrations, that there are some amazing traditions and that like, y'all go all out for things. Like, I'm thinking about college signing day. I'm thinking about like royal readers. And so are there like stories like that you could share?
Yeah, absolutely. Like what you mentioned, college sign day, of course, is like that's the happiest day for us, right? Like that's we've gotten our kids where they want to be. We invite their families over, and we want to celebrate that. But we also do, on campuses, right? Like we celebrate like attendance, we celebrate academic achievement. We celebrate even when kids get accepted to college and when they've made it their own decision. We literally have them, go onto their campus. Some campuses have a bell and they'll ring it, and they'll bring in their parents and they'll say, hello, I'm so and so, and I am attending college, or I've been accepted to college, which is huge for us. Pretty much any opportunity that we have, we celebrate, for our kids. I think, let me see, one of my favorite, I would say, well, for me personally, would be of course the AP scholars, right? Because when we hit that as a campus, like we had this huge celebration, kids would talk about it, and I told our staff that we were going to be ranked as one of the best schools in the nation, and they were like, "Wait, what? That's insane, right?" But then we walked them through how we were going to do, and they've been ranked as, I mean, I think for the past 5 years, they've been ranked as a top one of the most challenging schools in the nation, and it's around the AP program that we use, the staff state accountability. But we understand we do sometimes have a reputation for like just focusing on instruction and that's it. But we also do a lot to celebrate not just our students but also our parents, right? We have what we call teacher career pathway for teachers, right? So that we review their goals and their progress, and we have some performance pay based money for them where they can also get celebrations. We provide programming around staff development, so on and so forth. So we do a lot of celebrations, pretty much as we can, we do.
Yeah, well, it's important. Like, yeah, I mean, the students, the teachers, the leaders, everyone's working really hard at IDEA, and so it's good to take a break and celebrate when that hard work pays off.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and yeah, and I'm thinking about examples like around San Antonio of like things that make IDEA unique, right? Like there's certain campuses that have like like a mariachi program or have like sort of like urban farm gardening and right, like Idea Carver has the David Robinson Museum, and there's right, so there's a lot of things. There's a consistent level of quality, and high achievement, but there's also things that are unique about each campus.
Yeah, I mean, we try to be, unique, and we also know that kids and families also are used to, certain things. Um, you know, like I graduated from a standard school, a traditional ISD, right? So we try to provide opportunities for kids and for families to also celebrate. I mean, we do the typical meet the teacher night. We do the grandparent one. We do the cookies and what is it called? Donuts with Dad and things like that. Because we also want them to be part of our schools, and you'll see that throughout different schools doing this all the time.
Yeah. And I think one of the myths is that charter schools don't have sports, but that's not true at all because I've seen lots of idea, soccer and basketball and volleyball teams, often playing other charter schools, right? So it's kind of small schools against small schools, but they all have a lot of heart, and it gives a lot of students a chance to participate where they might get overlooked if they were at a really big school.
Yeah, and we actually do have students that have received scholarships because of some of our sports teams as well. Even though we are part of mostly charter school, what are they called? Charter
Oh,
school.
leagues, charter school league.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Some of our kids still do get. We've gotten basketball, we've gotten soccer, and we've had full rights for kids.
yeah. Well, I try to dispel some of the myths about charter schools, and help people understand, like, you can get the positives. You can get like strong academics, and you can have like a family like culture, where parents can participate in these celebrations as well. Students can play sports and have school spirit. And you've shared some great stories. Are there any other stories you can think of that?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is that we've seen is that we've had students that have graduated from us, have gone on to college, and they've come back and they've also taught. Right. So there's a lot of examples of kids in every region that we have right now that has seniors that have actually also become teachers, right? And they're focused on also serving their communities. And we've also had students that have graduated from the RGV and are teaching in Austin and in San Antonio, even in Tarrant County and Fort Worth. I think that for me is like one of the biggest points of pride, the fact that our kids are so committed to the service, so committed to making sure that kids like them are also getting into college and becoming teachers. I just love it when I show up and I've had several that, hey, Mr. Cantu, like, and I'm like, oh, wow, it's like one of my ex-students, right? Or it's a student that I've met a year ago or 2 years ago or in the past that are also continuing to work on the mission for us.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And then they come in already, like you said, they're aware, they understand the mission, they benefited from it themselves. So they can bring that to another generation of students.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I guess as we kind of, we're rounding out the interview, can you think of like, what are some of the top reasons why families should choose IDEA if they're looking at, their neighborhood school or different schools of choice?
Yeah, I think number one is the fact that our mission is making sure that kids are getting into college, first and foremost. That's something that you will hear consistently throughout any region you go, especially in San Antonio. It's making sure kids are getting into college. Second is the fact that we have individualized learning for students. So like kids in the lower grades between K and 2, like the way our curriculum and our program works is that it's focused on making sure that we are targeting where students are, right? You could have a kinder student that is at a first grade level or a second grade level, and we're teaching them at that level. But then we could also have the reverse where you have a second grader teaching at a first grader or a kinder, right? So we teach them where they're at, and that's the easiest way for us to close those gaps, right? Because we're teaching them right where they're at. Then I think the third reason is definitely the AP for all. Like that's one of the expectations, right? We're going to push our students, in high school for them to be taking AP level coursework because it is super challenging. And even if students aren't receiving credit, it's preparing them for college regardless.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's a really good summary. So the 3 points you made was, one, IDEA is getting kids ready for college and very effective at that. And that's why the schools are so highly rated. That for younger kids, the individualized learning, and that makes a lot of sense to me. The pandemic was very disruptive for, that group of the kind of young elementary kids. And, some of them were homeschooled or in different settings. And, so they're going to be coming into IDEA at different levels. And so you want to meet them where they're at, use their time most efficiently, and help them catch up and close those gaps so that by the time they get to the college prep level, they can tackle those challenging AP courses. And then you talked about AP for all, that so many kids are going to be learning at that advanced level, and that's really going to set them up to succeed when they get to college.
Absolutely, you nailed it. That's exactly our my personal speaking points around why IDEA is the number one choice for our families.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, there are 15 campus or sites around San Antonio.
Yes.
So that's 30 if you count academy plus college prep, right? And these are some of them are still adding high school grades, but for the most part, they're K through 12 campuses. We've got all the details in the enrollment guide blog post. So I'm going to plug that's at sachartermoms.com. But also the IDEA website has a page about the San Antonio region that breaks all that down. So, but what's your advice for families who like they're curious, they want to learn more, or they want to get an application in, and September 1 was when the application opened for 2024-25. So families can apply right now.
So two things. One, definitely, check out our website, ideapublicschools.org. You can get on there. There'll be a lot of information, and there it is that you can get. It'll walk you through the process. It'll also walk you through some of the things that we do. But also, I think one of the most important things is, as a family, find the one school that you feel is the closest for you and the best bet for you to attend. Call them, and we will set up a tour for you. You'll talk to somebody personally, and they'll walk you through the process. We set up a tour where you can go in there and you can see other kids and families and teachers in action, and you can learn firsthand why IDEA is the number one choice.
I think that's so important. I think there are rumors and myths that circulate about what it's like in a charter school, and I think if people they can see like a sense of order and purpose, right? Like the values and like it's in how the building is set up and decorated and stuff. It's not just decorated; it's like there's meaning in what's on the walls. But also the joy, right? And seeing like maybe in the AR zone or like the library that like how many kids are excited to be reading and they're excited about their progress, and so to see like the order and the hard work, but also the joy and the warmth, and going on a school tour is a really essential way to get that information.
Absolutely. As a parent, that'll be the number one thing, is for you to visit and observe and meet with somebody that can personally give you or walk you through the process, and then answer any questions directly that any of our families may have.
Yeah. So on the website, so Ernie mentioned, so ideapublicschools.org is the main website. If you just type in /apply, that takes you directly to the application. So applications are open now. The lottery is in February. I don't remember the exact date. Go to the website. Any it doesn't matter if you apply now or January, but my advice to families is just get that application in, and that you can keep researching, and then when the lottery happens in February, then you'll be ready to make up your mind and hopefully accept the offer to the school that you feel like is the right fit based on the research and deciding what's the right fit for your family.
Yeah, and we'll have what we call Welcome to IDEA, where we bring in all our families in and we do walk them through what to expect, because we want to be super transparent with folks, right? We want to make sure that a family can say, yes, this is the right choice for me, and these are all the things that I will going to do. It'll teach them about the program, teach them about culture, teach them about what they can expect from the first day moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and I'm proud that IDEA Public Schools is going to be part of our School Discovery Day events as well. And those start in October, and they run about once a month through May. So we're proud to be able to introduce IDEA Public Schools to more families in San Antonio who are doing school searches for their own children.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ernie, for joining me. Thanks for sharing about your story and like so many examples from your long career at IDEA. So I'm really proud to tell more families about IDEA Public Schools.
Thank you for the opportunity. And if there's any follow-up questions you need or information, please don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Thanks so much. All right. Take care.
Thank you.